Hey guys, Vale here, and today we're back with a quick list of the 3 best early game snowballing champions for each role going into Season 12. So let's jump straight in and start with the top lane. The first champion on this list is going to be Darius. Now Darius has always been one of the biggest low elo stompers in the entire game, but that's not to say he can't actually do it at any rank. Level 1 and Level 2 Darius offers some of the best early game all-in potential in the entire game. The damage he does from his abilities is one thing, but it's his passive that truly makes it so hard to beat him. It's so easy to pull up 3 kills pre-6 on this champion when you play super aggressively, especially with both Flash and Ghost. And if that wasn't enough, when you hit 6 you can easily execute your enemies. Once you get a lead on Darius, top lane becomes impossible for the enemy team to gank, as if they do, you just kill them all. The next top lane pick is Akshan, and honestly I don't know why people aren't picking this guy up every single game. His early damage in lane from as soon as level 1 right the way through to the mid game is some of the best damage in League of Legends, and he can easily all in whenever he wants and start snowballing. The best part is, once you dive in with your E and burst down your enemy with Ignite, you can just E out again to safety with this reset. If your opponent does manage to survive and get away, when you're level 6 you can just ult them from miles away to secure those easy kills. Due to Akshan's stealth and roam potential, you can walk around the map with your lead after killing your enemy top laner a few times and basically just demolish the entire rift. Akshan's ability to bring back all of his teammates that recently died also makes him ridiculously OP, and I can't explain to you just how 1v9 this champion is, especially if you pop off in the early game. Set is the last top laner we've got on this list, and he's definitely one of the hardest champions to beat early game due to his damage, his survivability and his crowd control. Set actually brings some of the best trading power even from as early as level 1 with his Q auto attack reset and lethal tempo. Not many champions can fight him here, and he only gets more and more stronger with each level up. His level 2, his level 3 and his level 6 all-ins are crazily strong and can easily help him snowball out of control very quickly. If you do try bringing friends to the top lane to take Set down, he's probably just going to 1v2 or even 1v3 when he's got his lead. Onto the jungle now, and we couldn't talk about snowballing champions without the main snowballing sensation himself, Nunu. Now Nunu has always been a crazily aggressive early ganking jungler, and he can honestly destroy the map in just the first few minutes of any game. Nunu has the ability to gank from as early as level 2 repeatedly throughout the course of the game. He has ridiculously fast clear times, map mobility and objective control that all make him an immense threat, especially once he's got a lead, and the impact this champion can have on those games is just way too huge to ignore. If you combine all of this with the fact that Nunu is just so strong at the moment, it's the perfect time to abuse him. Graves is the next champion on this list just purely because of how dominant this champion can be once he gets that early lead. Graves can deal some tasty damage early game from close range, making him excel in most 2v2s and early fights. Once he gets a lead, he becomes stupidly hard to deal with, not only because he deals toxic amounts of burst damage, but he also becomes very hard to punish due to his innate armor passive. Graves can basically walk around the map contesting and killing everything he wants without any risk of really being punished, unless you take multiple people to take him out and manage to stay out of range of being bursted down yourselves. If you like popping people in seconds, Graves should definitely be the one for you. Rek'Sai is our final jungler today, and the main reason being just how strong her early ganks are with her unrivaled unconventional ganking paths. Rek'Sai can basically gank from anywhere in the early game, making her nearly impossible to ward against and play against in general. And if you're unlucky enough to play against a Rek'Sai main that understands the optimal places to tunnel and gank from, you're going to find it incredibly frustrating and probably will just want to FF15. Rek'Sai translates those early ganks into a very fast lead, and then the damage she deals is just insane. Once she gets her Prowler's Claw, there's genuinely no getting away from her. Her burst damage, her map mobility and overall rift dominance makes her a fantastic early jungler to stomp games with. Onto the mid lane now, and Pantheon is going to take that first place. Now despite him being relatively underplayed right now, the champion absolutely pops off when people know how to abuse him. Pantheon's early game damage and reliable crowd control make him an absolute unit in that mid lane, and he can easily punish most mid laners by killing them 5 times before he even hits level 6. Pantheon can then use that lead he gains from dominating lanes to influence the map easily and then roam around with his ultimate. Due to Pantheon's W being impossible to miss, it just makes him an absolute beast, and his damage can be simply unavoidable. If you're bored of playing scaling champions and just want to ruin some enemies' lives, take up Pantheon and reap the rewards. Cho'Gath is next on our mid lane list, and this champion again is just another one who gets forgotten about. Cho'Gath's damage and control in lane with the damage from his basic abilities just makes him super strong already, but if you combine that with the insane power spike you get at level 6, and honestly you can get so fed so quickly and so often. When Cho'Gath gets a lead, every single one of his Qs feels like getting hit by a full AP Malphite ultimate. It deals tons of damage and often leads you into an easy death. Cho'Gath can simply walk up to anyone when he's fed, as he becomes so tanky and he'll just deal so much damage with his ult that he can just chomp him out of the game in seconds. If you haven't tried it yet, definitely give him a go. Our final mid lane pick is definitely someone that does take a bit more practice, but when you get the hang of her, she's an absolute monster, and that's going to be Akali. Now, Akali's early few levels can be a little bit tricky with her energy management, but her burst is still pretty viable. Akali's level 6 though is arguably one of the strongest early power spikes in the game and can allow her to roll over even the harder matchups. Akali's level 6 all in with her ultimate and ignite just deals a crazy amount of damage, and once you've got that lead you can basically just kill your lane opponent on repeat. If that wasn't enough, head downstairs or up top and take the rest of the team out too. Her mobility and stealth also make her very hard to shut down, meaning she can keep that lead and abuse it easily. Now we're moving on to the bottom lane, and in the driver's seat we've got Caitlyn. Now for a champion that scales so well, Caitlyn has such a strong laning phase. Her ranged advantage, poke and burst with her traps and empowered auto attacks just make her so hard to play against. When you're in control in the lane phase on Caitlyn, you can bully your enemies down to the point where they simply can't play the game. Pin them under their turret and poke them down until they either die or they're forced back to go and heal instead for the 15th time. Once you've got that lead in the early game, you can easily just kill your enemies repeatedly, and by the time you rotate to the mid game, your opponents have probably already surrendered. Definitely a great champion to win the mental battle with. Swain is next up, and the main reason is just how strong this champion is in the lane phase and how easily he can catch out and dominate his lane opponents. Swain's E goes through minions and it's an incredibly hard ability to dodge, making it an easy way to win lane on him. If you pair this with Swain's range and burst damage, he can easily farm early kills, especially when combined with a mutually dominant support. If you've ever played against a Swain Blitzcrank bot lane, I hope you managed to get through it without uninstalling. Swain can then use that lead he gets from beasting it in the lane phase to absolutely demolish the mid game. He becomes so unkillable with his ultimate and Zhonya's, and he ends up taking out the whole entire enemy team in the process. If your team lacks a little bit of AP and you fancy snowballing bot lane with ease, pick up Swain for free elo. Draven is our final bot lane pick for this video, and I don't even really need to explain why. Draven's early game damage with his axes is some of the highest damage in the early bot lane, and when you combine that with his passive giving him so much extra gold upon kills, it just makes him snowball incredibly quickly. Once you've got your first item early on Draven, you can basically just sprint at your enemies and delete them in a matter of seconds. Now getting good at Draven will definitely take a bit of time, but it will also give you a free ticket to climb ranked, especially if you can play aggressive enough. Finally, we're moving on to the support now, and first up we've got Pyke. Now this champion is probably the least supportive support in the entire game, as his whole kit is just designed to delete his enemies and basically just farm pentakills. Pyke's hook gives him tons of early kill potential, and his E flash all in the early game makes him such a high threat and can lead to him basically just dominating that bot lane and farming his enemies relentlessly. When Pyke gets level 6, he becomes immensely hard to win fights against, especially when he's fed, as it will seem like he just kills you before you can even blink. Pyke is seriously a snowballing monster, especially in the right hands, so if you want to carry his support and don't really care for your teammates, get on this champion as soon as possible. Brand is next up, and this champion offers so much damage he can honestly feel stronger than the scaling mid lane mage in some games. Brand can genuinely destroy enemy bot lanes with a few good early combos, and with the help of his passive, he'll just delete you in no time at all. Brand can then walk around the map with this lead and then basically just 1v1 or 1v2 any enemies he sees. The damage this champion does with his burns and his burst make him a serious threat in any game, but especially so if he gets ahead early game and starts popping off, he'll be incredibly hard to play against. Brand's snowballing potential genuinely gives him the opportunity to pretty much blow up an entire enemy team with just his ultimate and his passive. Now if that isn't enough reason to play him, I don't know what is. Blitzcrank is the last support and the last champion we're going to talk about today, and yes, it's pretty obvious just why this pick is so good at winning games right from the off. Blitzcrank's invade is one of the best in the game, and in lane he can pretty much ruin anyone's day with one good Q. Blitzcrank can punish any kind of opponent from the bot lane. If they're playing stupidly defensive, he can just walk around the map and punish them instead once he's got those Moby boots. Blitzcrank's ability to snowball game just by running around the rift and hooking whoever he wants make him easily one of the most influential early game supports in the entire game. And if you want to win games with one ability, this champion will give you the chance. So that's going to wrap up our quick list all about the best early game snowballing champions you can play in Season 12. We hope you enjoyed it and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care.